It's quite famous in this universe that the kids of rich people get a fortune in heritage. It can be considered, but sometimes, like 40 in 100 cases, we also see around us the rich brats indulging in bad habits like drugs, etc. But as we know, there are always two faces of a coin. But if the children of the rich people know what their responsibilities are, they have a better chance of growing up because they have so many advantages. They already have the things they need to grow, as the famous son of an engineer in our history did. Any guess? Hey future tycoons, welcome back to Businessman, where you get to know the amazing business case studies. And today is the turn of a famous Japanese car. So exciting, right? Let's dive into the video. We are talking about Toyota, and the story starts with Kichiro Toyota, who was a businessman from Japan. He was the son of Sakichi Toyota, who started Toyota Loom Works. When he decided to switch Toyota from making automatic looms to making cars, he started what would become Toyota Motor Corporation. Kichiro Toyota convinced his brother, who ran the family business at the time, to invest in the idea of turning Toyota Loom Works into a division that made concept cars. At the time, this was a risk for the family business. Shortly before he died, Sakichi Toyota told his son Kichiro to follow his dream and start making cars. Kichiro built on the family's mechanical skills, which had led to the invention of steam, oil, and electric looms, and created the Toyota Motor Corporation, which is now a well-known global powerhouse. He would also change the way the name of the car company was written so that it didn't include the family name. This was thought to bring good luck. Toyota would never know how successful he would become because he quit the company he started in 1950 because sales and profits were going down. 2 years later, he died. In 1957, his cousin and close friend Eiji Toyota took over as head of Toyota Motor Corporation. He continued Toyota's successful growth of the company into a world-class engineering conglomerate and the launch of Lexus, Japan's most famous luxury brand. Let's talk about the early life of Kichiro Toyota. Kichiro Toyota was born on June 11th of 1894 in Yoshitsumura Yamaguchi, Shizuoka, Japan. He was the first son of Sakichi Toyota, also known as Tami Sahara. Sakichi lived in Toyohashi before Kichiro came into the world. Sakichi went to Yoshitsumachi at the time to give Kichiro a name, but after Sakichi told Kichiro's name, he quickly went back to Toyohashi. Also, his mother Tami left him and her husband less than 2 months after he was born. She did this because she was tired of her husband, who in her eyes was too busy with his work to care about their family life. So Kichiro's grandparents took care of him and raised him in Yoshitsumura. Kichiro moved to Nagoya, Aichi, where Sakichi lived when he was 3 years old. Kichiro went to Kyoto Kanji Ordinary Elementary School and then switched to Takadake Ordinary Elementary School for his education. After that, he went to elementary school at Aichi Normal School, junior high school at Marin, and high school at Second. In 1920, he got his degree from Tokyo Imperial University's Department of Mechanical Engineering, Faculty of Engineering. After he got his degree, he stayed at the Faculty of Law at Tokyo Imperial University for about 7 months until March of 1921. Kichiro did very well in school. After that, he went back to his hometown of Nagoya and joined Toyota Boshoku, which his father Sakichi had started in 1918. From July of 1921 to February of 1922, Kichiro went to San Francisco, London, Oldham, and other places to learn about the spinning and weaving industries. He came back from Marseille via Shanghai. After he went back to Japan in December of 1922, he married Hatako Lida, who was the daughter of Shinshishi Lida, who helped start the Takashimaya department store chain. Kichiro started Toyota Industries Corporation in 1926 and took over as its managing director. Also, he became interested in automatic looms, so he set up a pilot plant in Korea, Aichi, to start working on them, even though his father Sakichi did not agree. He went to Europe and the US. He thought that the auto industry, which was just getting started at the time, would grow a lot in the future. So in 1933, Toyota Industries Corporation started a new department called Automobile Manufacturing, which later became the Automobile Department. Under the Automotive Manufacturing Act of 1936, it was named a licensed company. In 1937, it became the Toyota Motor Corporation on its own. The same year, Kichiro became the vice president. In 1941, Kichiro became the leader of Japan. At the height of World War II in the Pacific Theater, the Toyota family would be affected both at work and at home. Civil problems would make it harder for his kids to go to school, and his business would have to make trucks for the Imperial Japanese Army. In the days before the Japanese government gave up, they would not destroy the family businesses. He is a key figure in the development of the Japanese auto industry. Without him, the Japanese auto industry might not be as developed as it is today. The auto industry is a big part of what keeps the Japanese economy going. Kichiro is said to have started the Japanese car industry, and he is credited with making cars from scratch that were better than cars made by other countries. During World War II, there were big differences between the Japanese and American auto industries. At the beginning of the 1930s, Kichiro worked on making progress toward making cars in Japan. In 1933, Toyota Industries Corporation set up a department for cars and began making cars on a large scale. But it wasn't easy to make the car, because no one had experience making cars. So he brought people from all over Japan who did have experience making cars together. In September, the Automotive Manufacturing Act named Toyota Industries Corporation and the Nissan Motor Company as licensed companies. But Kichiro was afraid that if his company was chosen as a licensed company, the auto industry would lose its competitive edge and the Japanese auto industry would go out of business. Kichiro was chosen to be vice president of Toyota Motor Corporation when it was founded in 1937. Kichiro was a good manager for mostly two reasons. First, he ran the operation and made it easier so that they could make more cars on a tight budget. In particular, to make the company's internal structure clear, it was split into 7 divisions, each of which had a clear purpose and area of responsibility. Second, he lowered the risk of mass-produced cars by being involved in the production of both mass-produced cars and specialty cars. The Koromo factory opened in November of 1938, and its workers worked hard to make cars. But there were problems with the quality and price of the cars, which put the management in a tough spot. Kichiro solved these problems by acting quickly and making car parts himself. Kichiro became the head of the Toyota motor industry in 1941. But what happened to Toyota during the war? Because of the war, Toyota Motor Corporation had to cut back on what it did. It caused a lot of problems for the Japanese auto industry, including Toyota Motor Corporation. After the war was over, the Japanese government put limits on the production of cars so that they could focus on making things for the military. This made it hard to make and buy passenger cars. From 1939 on, the Minister of Commerce and Industry had to give the go-ahead for car companies to sell passenger cars. Even after that, there was still more control. In 1940, the Japanese government made it harder for Toyota Motor Corporation and Nissan to sell big trucks and buses. This made it so that customers had to buy these trucks and buses themselves. Those who wanted to buy had to go through a long process to get permission. To be more specific, they asked permission from local police officers to buy from a dealer, then got a survey from the dealer, and then had to ask the manufacturer to send them a car. But it has become very unlikely that they will accept general orders. After the US joined World War II, the situation got worse. In 1944, Toyota Motor Corporation was named a weapons company, and strict controls stayed in place. During this time, Kichiro must have had a lot of bad days because he couldn't make passenger cars. Even so, Kichiro spent most of his time thinking about technical problems. He was sure that the car business would help Japan after the war, so he kept looking into the technical issues, even though things were hard. GHQ took over Japan after the war. In the car business, GHQ wouldn't let a Japanese company make anything but trucks, not even passenger cars. Even so, Kichiro still had to deal with hard problems. But even though it was hard, he did not lose. He took the lead and did a lot to help get the Japanese auto industry back on its feet. First, he started an umbrella organization for the auto industry on his own. and he became the organization's chairman. Then he talked to GHQ on his own and got them to agree that the new organization was different from the one that they used during the war. Kichiro also asked people from distribution companies all over the country to come to Kuromo. He spoke about changes in policy at Toyota Motor Corporation and then talked about how to get the auto industry back on its feet. The representatives were impressed by how strongly he spoke. These things show how much he cared about cars and the auto industry, which is why he was right to act on behalf of the auto industry. Also, after the war, many dealers from each company were freed from their company's control and went out on their own. Some of these dealers' businesses were able to start up again as Toyota dealerships and go back to how they were before the war. This shows how much the dealership owners trusted him as president of Toyota Motor Corporation. In fact, Kichiro valued his relationships with dealerships, so he usually talked to people directly and fixed problems right away if they asked. Even so, it was still difficult to make and sell. During the poor time after the war, it was hard to get raw materials and parts right away, and it was hard to find cheap, good quality genuine parts compared to before. The number of trucks made did not reach the number of cars made each month, which was 500. In 1945, 3,270 units were made each year, and in 1946, 5,821 units were made each year. But even though it was illegal to make passenger cars, GHQ could still let people research them. Also, as part of the occupation policy, a car company will be hired to fix US military vehicles in Japan. This gave Toyota employees, like Kichiro, a chance to learn about how American cars are put together. They actively took the most advanced parts of American cars and used them to build their own passenger cars. In any case, the most important thing is that Kichiro worked so hard to build up the Japanese auto industry, even though things were hard in the years after World War II. Kichiro kept putting a lot of work into passenger cars, like researching, making, and selling them. Finally, in June of 1947, GHQ permitted him to make up to 300 passenger cars with engines under 1500 cc per year. So he started making passenger cars for real on that day. The SA model with an S engine was the first Japanese passenger car made after the war. It came out in October of 1947 and was called a Toyopet. But during this time, there were mostly two problems. First, none of these passenger cars sold. At the time, this car was highly regarded in the auto industry, but most people didn't buy cars to drive. So, only 197 passenger cars were sold in the 5 years after the car came out. While in the meantime, 12,799 trucks were sold during the same time. The second problem was that the places where the products were made were not good. There were a lot of machines that had been used for a long time and were not well taken care of. So Kichiro was worried about whether or not the cars made by Toyota Motor Corporation could beat cars made by other companies. Also, Kichiro was thinking about working with a foreign car company if Toyota Motor Company could make a car that was better and cheaper than a foreign car, and that Japanese people would be willing to buy in a few years. From what was said, it's clear that Kichiro wanted to make cheap, high-quality cars for Japanese people that would make them happy. But the 1949 Dutch line caused a recession that hurt the car business a lot. Due to the effects of controlling inflation and setting a single exchange rate, Toyota Motor Corporation took longer to get the money from sales. Japan's inflation started because the government spent a lot of money to help soldiers return home and get out of the military, and then they raised the value of their currency. To keep the Japanese economy stable, GHQ decided on a single exchange rate of 360 yen per dollar. Due to the effects of the recession, the number of people buying cars went down even more. Also, the price of materials used to make cars went up, and cash management got a lot worse. This was a major way in which the company's management got worse. As a result, Kichiro went out with the executives to sell and collect accounts receivable. Also, he did his best to save money for materials, but there was a limit. In the end, every month there was a shortfall of 22 million yen. In 1949, the company finally came up with a plan to cut wages by 10% and retiree benefits by half. So instead of taking a 10% pay cut, the company said that they wouldn't fire any employees. Because of this, the other car companies let go of their workers. Kichiro didn't do a staff cut in this situation because he had an employment problem at Toyota Industries Corporation during the Showa Depression in 1930. After that, he decided that something like that would never happen again. Also, the move into the car business was a way to stop employment problems caused by business diversification from happening again. So, he did everything he could to keep people from being laid off. Kichiro went to the city's bank every day to open a bank account. In the end, no bank gave the company the money it needed. But Shotaro Kamiya, who was a managing director, asked the branch manager over and over again to give him the money. After that, the Bank of Japan put together a syndicate of 24 banks. Toyota Motor Company could get 188.2 million yen in loans, depending on how its rebuilding plan is put together. This is how Kichiro got through the crisis of going bankrupt in 1949. Even though management rationalization measures were pushed hard, the company's business performance never got better. The reason is that in 1949, GHQ released a memorandum on the total removal of restrictions on the production and sale of automobiles. So in general, making and selling cars became free. However, the Ministry of International Trade and Industry kept its system for allocating and distributing production materials, and the prices of both materials and cars were still controlled. Also, the control prices of materials were slowly raised, but the control prices of cars did not change. This made it very hard for the auto business to make money. Not only did Toyota Motor Corporation lose money, but so did Nissan Motor Corporation and Isuzu Motors Corporation. For the 4.5 months from November 1949 to March 1950, the company lost 76.52 million yen, so the Toyota Labor Union decided that people had to go. In March of that year, a fighting system was set up. Since then, talks between workers and bosses have gotten worse and turned into long-lasting fights. Kichiro, who had high blood pressure to begin with, got sick because of all the stress, so the management army took over negotiations with the labor union instead of Kichiro. But in April of 1950, the company told the labor union that it would let 1,600 people leave on their own. On the other hand, since the company had said that it wouldn't lay off employees, the union got very angry and kept going on strikes. After the declaration, the strikes went on every day for about 2 months. This caused production to drop by 70% in April and May compared to what it had been. Since the company was going to be destroyed as it was, Kichiro announced in June of 1950 that he would step down as president to take on these responsibilities. By the time he retired, the strike was finally over. The union had a lot of respect for Kichiro, and everyone was shocked when he quit. After he stopped being president, he turned his home in Okamoto, Setagaya, Tokyo, into a lab where he worked every day to design a small helicopter. Toyota died on March 27th of 1952 after falling because of a brain hemorrhage caused by a long-term illness. He was 57 at the time. Toyota has become one of the most successful, admired companies in the world. It all started with the values Sakichi Toyota learned from his father, and those values have been kept, improved, and passed on right up to the present day. Toyota has had to solve many problems throughout its history. Toyota has been able to do this and more. That's it, friends, for today's video. Hope this video has added value. If yes, smash the thumbs up. Comment down which part would you like. Comment down which was your favorite part in the video. And yes, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.